as yet, no Hecarim ban out, or no, at least, real prominence. Kuban, his Irelia is banned away, though.
Yes, yeah, as you mentioned, Irelia has been taken away by Origen for Kuban because Kuban is a big Irelia player. You don't want him getting his hands on that champion. Maokai again banned out against soaz.
Interestingly, Irelia wasn't banned last game, though. I guess it's because Reason have first pick this time, so that would be a fairly easy first pick for them.
Yes, and also they were looking specifically for the Hecarim. Again, we'll see if they ban that out. It would make sense, but it would be 3 bans towards the top lane.
It means either Nidalee or Zed from the last game are going to be available. One of those 2 bans from Origen has now changed, so the question is what becomes available, and actually both of them are available.
Okay, so where does Kuban go from here?
They give a take fun, Zed. Right here,
yeah, it's open.
His Zed.
Yeah.
This is what Take Fun does.
Yeah,
like as
Zed, LeBlanc, Fizz.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, there we go. There's the lock-in. I was just thinking, what do they pick? Nidalee's available? No, it's Reason Gaming. It's Take Fun. He loves his assassins. That's it. End of story.
Glad we caught that one before.
Yeah, man, that is. But that's a big power pick because Take Fun played pretty well last game. He had a couple of deaths to his name, but generally played the whole game out fairly well. This time you're putting him on a champion that he's even more comfortable with. Yeah. That's a dangerous play by Origen.
It is. I rate Take Fun as a very strong Zed, and I think a lot of mid lanes have to respect that. It did, of course, put them on to picking that first pick, so xpeke didn't take it away from them, but we'll see what Origen do to respond to this. There's a lot of junglers open. Gragas is open, Swajani's open, Nidalee's open. There's a lot in the jungle for them to go for. And essentially, Origen have to pick up the litter depending on what they want here. Also, they can wait out on the mid lane as they know Zed's going to be in there, so they prioritize the Janna maybe. Yes, it will be. And they go for the Gragas. Okay. Again, it could be top lane.
It could be, but they're going hard disengage regardless of where they're playing it. I don't think they'll put it top lane just because soaz... I don't want to say he didn't look comfortable, the item build didn't work for what Origen needed. It worked for what they thought they wanted, but certainly didn't work out for them for the game as a whole. Origen haven't had a whole lot of success with Gragas. Gragas was the champion that Amazing was playing against Lord Lions when they played it into Nidalee and got behind. Didn't work out from that game either. We talked with Amazing about Gragas and Sejuani a little bit when he was here in the studio for LCS, and he said they were fairly even, but didn't look at last game when... last game, sorry, it was Gragas top, but when Amazing has been playing Gragas, it hasn't looked so sharp.
Yeah, bottom line, Origen, Gragas do not mix, does not blend. We'll see what Reason Game will be coming in for here. It looks like it will be the Rumble for the top lane, Swajani as well for the jungle, so we will have those 2 junglers coming into this one. And in that game, actually, the one you were referencing, that's the one they ran Cog with the heavy disengage, so they do have the potential to pick a high damage AD carry like a Jinx, like a Cogmore here.
So the composition coming out from Reason Gaming right now is set up to be a very strong 1-4 situation where you've got Zed over in one lane and you look at a Sejuani and a Rumble. Those are 2 champions that are going to want to team fight when it comes to a 4 versus 4. Those 2 ultimates very difficult to deal with. However, the disengage out from Origen is problematic already. I wonder whether picking a composition that wants to fight against that is the smartest thing to do.
Yes, I'm also interested to see where they really focus the rest of the picks in terms of where they'll have their power spikes, because a Corki, mid-game. Last time mid-game, they didn't make enough happen in that mid-game. Will they go later game? They pick a Morgana again, which would maybe even suggest that.
Yeah, and Morgana, this will likely go top lane now, would actually be really smart. This denies a whole bunch of the split push potential that Take Fun will have on Zed. Tormented Soil, very good at burning down waves. Once you get a Zhonya's on Morgana as well, you basically don't die to Zed as well. So there's a lot of potential here for Origen to deny the split push, and that makes Take Fun Zed a lot more difficult to get to work.
Okay, so let's see where everything else is going to be going in this one. They do hover the cog. We'll see if that actually comes through. They have a fairly decent front line. What will they pair with it? That's the other question. So Take Fun in the mid lane. He'll be going up against, question marks still currently over the heads of Reason Gaming and what he'll be facing in that mid lane. And this will be an interesting bot lane if they do decide to lock it in. But so far, there's a lot of engagement from Reason Gaming. They have a pretty decent team fight. The question is it enough of a front line if they do lock in the cog?
It's a good question. It's a little bit worrying because there's no top lane tank.
Yes.
Either. So, I mean, they have a lot of damage. They don't have anything like a Lulu, so that is now locked in with the Cogmore. Another new champion here for Celiva. Tristana last game did very well on a scaling AD carry. what exactly to Origen pick here? They need something that will scale. That is, otherwise they'll fall into exactly the same trap that they fell into in the last game, and then in that they couldn't get later into the game without Reason running all over them. And it has to be likely from the mid lane here as well.
Maybe Cass is open.
Orianna, Kassadin would scale well into the late game. Cassiopeia would be as well. Something that will get to the late game and can still actually output damage.
Well, that is a late game champion, if you want one. Typically, we see it in the top lane, though.
Typically, there was a game in LCK last week, where there, or maybe two, where there was a Vladimir in the mid lane. And
wow,
it has been locked into. It does scale. Not a whole bunch of anything like crowd control that's going to come from that, so it will be difficult to lock down the Cog more later into the game, especially with all the Nami speed-ups and everything like that. But so Origen right now, they have, I guess, a fairly decent comp when it comes to... Actually, they've got a lot of magic damage. I was about to say a decent comp, but they have so much magic damage right now, whereas Reason Gaming, they've got a good mix. They've got magic damage, they've got AD, they've got physical scaling as well. If Take Fun gets ahead, Origen are going to struggle a little bit here.
I can see the strengths in both comps, but I can see the obvious flaws as well. Like, you look at Reason, and the Cog is kind of out in the open. You know, there's however, on the side of Origen, there's not a lot to get to that exposed Cog. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out, because there's no clear, like, battle plan. It's like, we're going to jump on Cog, we're going to kill him. It's like, well, we're going to try and just fight out the team fight, and hopefully xpeke can do something on Vlad. But if you spot a big play in this game, or in the first game as well, make sure to tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag #ChallengerBigPlays, and we could read your response on the broadcast. However, yesterday, your big play came from our second game between Lowland Lions and Gamers 2, and it came in from Benny Colddream, who said, Ica going ham on Lowland Lions. This is your most talked about Challenger Big Play. But that is a 3-for-2, and Lowland Lions are still looking to keep up the assault.
And they can't be that over-aggressive.
Ica Johnson! He gets free with his distortion! Unreal! Yeah, just capitalizing on the mistake from Lowland Lions.
I said it at the time. Everybody saw them grouped. Ica saw it, Lowland Lions saw it. So maybe not the most subtle of big plays, but certainly cool. Ica will capitalize on that.
Yeah. So if you see another play like that today, make sure to get those tweets in, again, using the hashtag #ChallengerBigPlays. And hopefully Origen pull out a big play in this game, because they need to. They are backs against the wall. If they lose this game, they're down to the third place game. Reason go up into the grand finals next week. And we're going to see how this one works out as we get into game. As we do swap up, it will be Origen now into the red-hand side, with Reason Gaming, the winner of the first game, going to the blue-hand side. And they'll be looking to storm out of the base. Dark Riders for Johnny coming into this one. Do have Cogmore as well. We'll see how this game turns out. Vladimir is a very interesting pick. I remember when we were spitballing ideas in the office a couple of weeks ago, like, well, okay, now that we have the tanks coming into the meta, could we see later game champions? Could we even see a Vladimir? Because, of course, he'll get that time to farm into the late game.
I've never really seen xpeke play a whole bunch of Vladimir, though. Or at least, if it would have been, it would be somewhere deep in the annals of time in Season 2. But certainly haven't seen him play it a whole bunch since, for a good few years, actually. So you have to think he would have practiced it. He wouldn't just randomly pick it. So we have been seeing the re-emergence of Vladimir, though. That is one thing to note.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of top laners, in fact, have been playing it more in the solo queue. I've been spotting a couple teams been playing it in ranked 5s and such, but never really in the mid-game or the mid-lane just yet. Again, we have seen some of it, but we'll see if it works, see if that's a magic ingredient that Origen need as they aggress heavily into the jungle of Reason Gaming. Selova going to be waddling over to this lane. We'll get the ward down, and pings left, right, and center will be alerting both of the teams to where those wards are.
I also haven't seen too much of the Vladimir against Zed matchup, but I feel like it's a matchup that as long as Zed doesn't get too far ahead, you should be able to just vamp a lot of life back during his ultimate and make it a lot more difficult.
That ward was too close to the tower.
Also, it allows Vlad to be one of the only champions that can actually start Cloth 5 against Zed, because you don't rely on any kind of mana, you don't really need anything else, because you don't have mana as Vladimir, so you just get to spam spells all the time.
Not bad.
And have a lot of potions. But we'll see how it works out. We'll see what xpeke decides to do in this middle lane.
Well, Kuban thought he had the better of reason game, where he walked over another ward which was placed at that base gate from the upper base gate. And maybe Celebi will head into the bot lane here, but again, he also walks over that ward near the base gate, so they'll know where he's going. And again, there's lots of movement in this early game for both of the teams trying to get the lanes where they want them to. And now Livic's going back to base, and he'll be going to the bot lane. Shut up, Nami.
Between your bad maths yesterday and shut up, Nami, am I casting with Doa now?
Maybe. I mean, have you transformed into him?
I don't know.
References.
Mid lane.
Take Fun heading onto xpeke here. He is getting under that 50% mark, so he will be able to get that extra damage from Contempt for the weak, which is, of course, his passive. Amazing into the jungle here. We'll be clearing out these raptors, probably smiting them as well, which will get him that razor-sharp buff to just chill in the jungle like he likes to do so. And that is Kuban now going into the top lane against soaz. So, with all that lane swapping, we've eventually just settled on normal lane.
Yeah, standard lanes. Awesome. Great. That is exactly what we were looking for. But at this point, my mind is instantly going to, is soaz going to be building Banner of Command like he did last time on Morgana, because they had trouble with their wave management in the last game. So maybe. That's a long way down the road, though. And bot lane, that's a nice Howling Gale out by Mithy. And this is one of the weaknesses now of Cog, is that his laning phase, if he is able to be pressured out, he will get fairly far behind. He'll hit a Triforce theoretically later than Corki will. So it's all on Niels to, once again, this time on Corki, needs to turn it around.
Yes, so Salah now farming underneath the turret. He should be able to even up this CS, and both of those bot laners from Origen are going back to base. We'll see if they swap into the top lane now, or they just want something specific in the early game. Mana Pot now picked up by Niels, so really just going for that lane and trying to apply that pressure and make sure they shut down the Cog more. In the mid lane, though, we've got that Zed, we've got that Vladimir matchup, and Vladimir seems to be getting the better of Take Fun. He is significantly ahead in farm, 26-16, but I don't think he's out of the fight just yet. Take Fun Zed is nothing really to relax about.
Yes, you should never take it lightly, but honestly, something along those lines. It's all good. Take Fun's waiting till 6, basically. Yes, he doesn't want to get too far behind, but oh, that was amazing. Really wanted that. He smites that down. Okay.
Got it.
So
well built,
I mean,
you know.
As long as he goes back now, that's actually not too bad. If he's smiting it and then recalling it to get his jungle item, it's actually... Is he invading?
Maybe trying to... No.
Okay, now he's going to recall. I was going to say, if you smite Crab and the enemy jungler sees it, and then you go and invade...
Rift Spirit spotted him.
Wow, okay.
Ooh, xpeke, though, taking some damage with the Ignite. Take Fun following up with the Slash as well, the Shadow Slash. And now he'll go back to those minions and start clearing them out. So he's evening up the farm total as the next minion wave heads into xpeke. But Peke still has his Flash, still has his Ghost. He's not in such an awful situation, but he has burnt through all of his pots already.
And that's a really interesting Ignite as well, because remember, Ignite would have cut the healing from xpeke if Take Fun were to go in when he hits 6. So what this kind of tells me is Take Fun is looking to shove Peke in, and then maybe look to roam to get the kill, because I don't know why he'd use Ignite this early on in this laning phase, because he's now got a good few minutes where he's not going to be able to just go in at 6 on Peke anymore.
Origen are going ham on their vision control, though. Take a look at Miffy sitting on a ward, but top lane, jungle, both got pink wards, both got normal wards as well, and they're starting to swap up their trinkets, really trying to get that early vision, maybe try and go for an early dragon or something, but try and keep on top of their vision game as well as their control over this game. And while they kind of did have that, they had a small advantage in the last game, they were never able to drive it home. And again, that's what I'm scared for with this composition. I mean, like, Vladimir doesn't peak in the mid game, he peaks in the late game.
Yeah, it's a long way off Vladimir reaching any kind of peak, and Vlad out of potions now has to be a little bit more respectful of Zed. The same as the reverse. The reverse is the same. Depends how you reverse things, I guess. But at this point, I mean, you've just got to be careful in this mid lane is what I'm trying to say, but I botched it hard.
Yep, I know what you're saying.
My
The viewers probably
my
don't,
brain
but
is not
we'll be
working
seeing
from
what's
that
going
last
to
game.
happen in the bot lane because soaz comes in, teleports out. That is the Soul Shackles onto Celeber and Libic as well. Amazing follows up with the bonk. There's the first blood onto Niels. That's soaz following up with the auto-attack damage. On top of that, that was also Celeber trying to get his Icathian surprise onto Niels as he backs off to his turret. And that is an early advantage to Origen, and they're going to try and convert this into this dragon. 7% now turns into 12% for Reason Gaming, so that is a net gain. Good job.
That's a good job. That's actually quite a significant gain as well when you look at the percentage. But Origen should be able to take this first dragon of the game for themselves. So it was Reason in the last game that were the ones to take it. And teleport advantage is, however, in favor of Reason for a while now. They have Rumble with teleport available, so we'll see whether they actually can make use of that.
So let's take a look down the scoreboard as everyone has gone back to base and has started turning those pieces of gold into items. And the bot lane still had that advantage to Niels over Celeber, which is somewhat to be expected. Cog is not the greatest laner in Runeterra, but the mid lane is fairly similar as well, 55 to 56, top lane 45 to 44. Very, very similar, and everyone has started to pick up glimpses of what they could be going for their items. Celeber has picked up the Phage. The only thing that builds into is Triforce. And in the bot lane again, Niels looking also towards a potential Trinity Force. And Take Fun will be taking the blue buff.
This is an interesting one. 8-minute lane swap coming out from Origen. They put their bot lane up to... Well, it would have been bot lane. Corki's gone mid. Vladimir's gone top. Janna's with her. So, complete lane change here.
Musical
from
lanes.
Origen. Yeah. Let's hope the music doesn't stop. Maybe that's why Gragas has that accordion.
Oh,
as soon as he stops playing, it's like, change lanes. But...
he did just go
he's
back to
done
base,
it again. Okay, they've
case.
inverted the map just very slowly.
Australian lanes.
Australian lanes, yeah. Exactly. But Reason Gaming, right now, don't really care for what they're doing with the lanes. They just said, okay, well, we'll shove out mid and put our AD carry, or our support top lane with our top laner. There's a lot that's happened in this last minute or so from lane swaps, but Origen is still ahead in the gold. Peke finds himself once again with Take Fun in his lane. This time he's got that, the Hextech Revolver.
Oh, yeah.
Do not see that often. Mid lane.
He will be ticking down, goes into the Sanguine pool. Will be flashing after him as well. Will be Take Fun. Amazing now comes into it, and he's gone. He is back to his lane, and he is able just to carry on farming it out. So good timing by Amazing to come into this. And xpeke should be able to get back to healthy HP with that Hextech Revolver.
Yeah, Take Fun trades his Flash Ignite and ult for the Ghost and the ultimate from xpeke here, so leaves Take Fun without a kill to his first ult there. That is not something he would have been really wanting from that trade. He really should have been getting a kill from that first ultimate. Niels taking a lot of damage here. Bubble landed.
Equalizer as well. He's now into his overheated form, trying to get those auto attacks down, which will be amplified by his passive. Junkyard Titan. But doesn't quite get in range with the Valkyrie coming out from Niels. Still had his flash, just in case things went south. Zayu now into the bottom river will be taking away the crab, and also taking away this pink ward. So that's 50 gold plus 30 gold. It's a lot of gold.
That is a lot of gold. Oh, my maths has been not so great today, but what has been great today is Reason Gaming. When you look at that last game as well, and how they're controlling this game as well. Kog'Maw is now ahead in CS of Niels. That's a big factor now, because Cog should have been pressured out in this early game, and Cog may be able to reach a 24 at a roughly the same kind of time that Niels should get it. They're about 200 gold between each other, so the race is on still, but the fact that they've lane swapped up in the top lane for Origen is just allowing Kog'Maw to scale into this game even easier.
Yeah, Kog'Maw will scale up. Again, it's a question of whether he can stay alive, but they don't have a whole lot of dive onto him, apart from Amazing landing a good ultimate onto him. Talking about Amazing, he has gone for that Cinderhulk on top of his Stalker's Blade. From here, we have seen him go Righteous Glory on top of that as his second item. Hasn't built towards anything just yet, though.
Nothing yet. We will have to keep an eye on that. But over on the other side, Sejuani with the Sight Stone. And, Bubble does land again on Niels. These bubbles have actually been pretty good out of Libic so far.
As long as he can keep them up. I mean, we know his Fresh is also very good, but as long as he can keep them up, then they should be able to get those picks, which will pull them further ahead. Amazing sitting in this bottom bush, which has been warded out, but Zayu is on his way, as he has been alerted by his presence. Miffy, by sitting in the bush, acting as a ward, will be seeing out Zayu as well. Zayu has that Razor Sharp buff, so he knows that he didn't go past any wards, but he didn't realize that Janna was a ward.
No, that would be a little bit annoying if it popped on that. But Amazing now down in this bottom lane, has his ult again, as you said. Items picked up in the mid lane as well. Osika's arm guard has been picked up by xpeke, so looking for that Zhonya's hourglass will keep him safe against take funds.
In the top lane comes out with the equalizer. Soaz as well with the ultimate. Got a little bit musical there for some reason. Not too sure why. Clearing out this minion wave. It looks like Zayu is pulling back for now. Doesn't seem to want to go in for this.
So they saw Amazing recall.
Yeah.
And Zayu has his ultimate. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't go for that.
It would have been a 3-on-2. It would have been an ultimate pinning down the recalling Miffy and also Niels. In the mid lane, though, he's maybe using his ultimate for this one instead. xpeke still has his flash, remember. He will be waiting for the ultimate to come down. There it is. It whiffs, only gets that 30% slow. Zayu not reading from the same hit machine as Take Fun, however, because he jumps in with the Arctic Assault. Now has to flash away. Miffy with the bird to the retreating ball will take him out.
Yeah, Miffy will pick up that kill. And honestly, xpeke looked to be in a lot of trouble there, but the fact that he's running dual mobility summoners, he's got Ghost and Flash, allows him to get out and Take Fun. Saw what was coming from Miffy being there and Amazing, and kind of leaves Zayu high and dry in that situation. Zayu didn't quite land the ult either because of the extra mobility from xpeke, so a bit of a botched mid lane attempt there. Leads in favour of Origen. Origen now nearly 2,000 gold up as the second dragon has spawned.
Yeah, they can't afford to continue these blunders. Reason Gaming, they do have that one game advantage, but they need to keep it rolling because Origen, they will just turn on a dime and come back into this. They're on this dragon currently, will be smited away by Amazing. Not too difficult to get that one away. Libic lands his Akka Prison onto the retreating Amazing. Celiva, now of those auto attacks from the Bioarcane Barrage. Niels potentially under attack. He does have his Valkyrie just in case. Now they'll take this opportunity to take away this pink. Reason Gaming just trying to regroup, trying to go for this blue buff as well, perhaps try and get the smite down. It will go over to Zayu this time around. So they don't get the dragon, but they do get the blue buff. Now Reason Gaming have to rethink their ideas.
Yeah, Origen will be fine with that. They'll then it's not too important that they get the blue buff. I mean, Vlad doesn't use mana, so it would purely be for the cooldowns. Amazing would have maybe liked it just to get the cooldown on his ult lower, but to be honest, it's a small price to pay for a second dragon of the game. And that's one thing Origen really can't say about the last game, is there was no real dragon control, or at least dragon dominance out of Origen. We got to a point where both teams had 3 dragons apiece, so that wasn't really there as a factor to look to win the game from getting 5 dragons and kind of just rolling over their opponents. So Origen are on track for that this game with their second before the 15-minute mark, so it's a good spot for them to be in.
Yeah, and taking a look at the items once again, at the same time of that fight, Origen did actually have some pretty big item advantages. The Cinderhawk that we mentioned earlier, but also the Trinity Force from Corki, the Morellonomicon from Morgana, so they were in a much better position than Reason Gaming, whose Celiva only just picked up his own Trinity Force.
Yeah, only just as well. But one thing I want to kind of make a note of is before we get too deep into this game is actually if Origen get to 4 dragons, this is one of the only times that the 4th dragon spike is actually going to be fairly integral to a team composition, because the added minion damage actually gives Vladimir a fair amount more ability to split push. He gets a lot more sustain from it. He can take fights in amongst minions a lot better because of his Tides of Blood. You just do more damage, get more health back, and just generally that's a good little part for Vladimir. It adds to his kit a tiny bit, but if Origen can get to that 4th dragon, that'll be very good for xpeke.
Yeah, back when Dragon and the buffs were turned around, when it was the 2nd buff, we actually saw a bit of Vladimir because of that, but then that got changed to the 4th buff. So 2nd buff is now the tower pushing damage instead. Let's take a look at how the bot lane's doing. Slight advantage now to Celiva, holding my fort for a second, as Amazing does not land his ultimate onto the retreat of Zayu with the Arctic Assault. In this case, it was the Arctic Retreat. And in the bot lane, Celebra's actually now ahead of Niels, who was ahead of him earlier into the game. So that's a big catch-up in terms of gold. And now overtaking the Corki. Libic, though, that's a lot of damage from the fast bomb ultimate as well. He'll be Valkyrying away, because that is an absurd amount of damage coming in from Celebra as well. There is the tidal wave. It lands onto the backside of Miffy. He'll be following up as well, looking to try and get the Equalizer down. It does split them away. It takes down Miffy. Oh, the Void Ooze lands onto Niels as he gets away from this fight. And the Electro Harpoon nets the double kill for Kuban.
Again, Origen are not timing out Reason Gaming's abilities. They didn't have the timer on the Nami ultimate or the teleport from what it looked like. Otherwise, you really wouldn't take that engage. xpeke wants to go in. Ghost has been popped.
Yeah, he's going in with a Sanguine Pool as well. Gives him an extra bit of movement speed. And as the ultimate, the Hemo Plague, will be eventually proccing off onto those two targets. Oh, amazing. Trying to get into these Raptors as well. Probably smiting those again. And Zayu, though, he wants these.
The fight over the Razor buff.
Nope.
Amazing. Oh, but it's instantly popped. That's always a sad time.
Yeah, but he still gets a ward.
Yeah, he still gets it. Did he actually kill a ward from that? Oh, okay. I thought it was the one on... because there were two that were very close.
Yeah, indeed.
So.
It was the one by the...
but the main thing they got was the turret.
Yes,
that's a lot bigger a price than a ward.
We were like talking about the big Raptor, and it's like, yeah, the main thing was the mid turret that went down to Origen, which they did manage to get onto their side. Now, one turret apiece, plus those two dragons. Pretty low kill game, honestly, compared to both the last game and the last semi-final that we saw. Playing it a lot more calculated. And we can really just see the decisions tick over in the brains of the team rather than just like, let's go fight and see what happens.
Yeah, at this point in the last game, it was 5 kills to 4, I believe. It was still a fairly slow-paced game. This one is even more composed, but I wouldn't really expect too much more with a Vladimir and a Kog'Maw in this game, especially when you take into account that both of these teams are going to look to split push at one point or another. xpeke, that wasn't the best of trades against Take Fun. Ignite will cut the healing.
Yeah, he comes in with the Death Mark as well. The Sanguine Pull. There comes the last Shurikens coming across. xpeke will be dropping fairly low from that and has to burn his flash. Hemo Play coming back up in a couple of seconds. So, Take Fun in a one-on-one is still able to deal with Vlad.
Yeah, Vlad with that Sanguine Pool, very efficient at dodging a lot of the damage. And take into account he's only a couple of 100 gold away from his Zonya's Hourglass as well. So that should mean that Take Fun can't really do too much to Vladimir, but they still have to be careful with how much damage Zed can do against Niels, Miffy, and Amazing. But honestly, Zed being 0-0-0 at nearly 20 minutes is not exactly what you want from a Zed. We sung Take Fun's praises. He hasn't shown up yet.
Stress yet. Yeah. Libic and Zayu now heading into this bottom, or upper river, but the bottom side of it, or the top side, what am I trying to say? Zayu is now heading back into his jungle, that's for certain. Soaz, though, is sitting in the river. He has been spotted out by this pink ward. Kuban will be doing zoning duties and pushing Soaz away, who is still sat on top of a different ward this time. But as you mentioned, in the mid lane, there is still an advantage to xpeke, who had that in the laning phase. Our bottom lane has stabilized with their CS. Top lane, slight CS advantage to Soaz, but both of these top lanes have been roaming so much that they've not really just been sitting in lane against each other. Now this dragon has spawns, and Origen are the ones to command their lead over it. They're going to try and take this one away from Reason Gaming, but they are here to contest it. This may be the first major fight of the game as the Talaway comes over the wall, comes in with the Bowler as well to try and get this kill down. It will be outsmited by Amazing, who may be in turn taken out by Take Fun. He also gets tagged up by the Hemo Plague, and there's the Soul Shackles. He'll jump away from it using his ultimate right into the jaws of xpeke, who takes him out. Libic over the wall. There's the Monsoon, a triple bubble. If there was only something to follow up, then it would have been fantastic.
It would have been. I mean, man, could have been a big misplay out by Origen, but Origen get the third dragon of the game. They are on a good track here, as every time it has respawned, they've got it. I want to take note of one thing, actually, and that's that Amazing, he didn't sweep as the dragon was dying, and it was a little bit risky. Not to sweep when you've seen a ward go down in the back of the dragon pit. Just maybe head's not quite in exactly the right spot. I don't want to criticize too much because Amazing is still doing quite well, but it's the little things like that that will distinguish teams between dominating teams and you know, just being ahead.
It's also the little things that add up over time.
Yeah.
Because last game it was not really the little things, it was them just going for Baron, which was a very big thing as it came into the late game, but This time, yeah, again, all those little mistakes do add up into deaths, a couple kills here and there, a couple towers, a couple objectives, which ultimately lead to the game. And Reason Gaming, this game have not been as commanding as last game, but they're still pretty even. If you look at the goal totals as well, this is very similar to how it was last game, with Origen being slightly ahead, but not dominatingly ahead.
And speaking of gold, this is a great time for xpeke to back. He just had 1,600 gold. It's going to turn into a Zhonya's Hourglass, I have to imagine.
Nope, it's going to be Will of Ancients.
Whoa, okay, it's both.
And both.
It has been a long, long time since we have seen a Will of the Ancients.
It's been changed so many times as well.
It has. So now it bestows 20% spell vamp as a unique passive, 10% cooldown reduction, and 80 ability power. So it fits with everything that Vladimir wants.
Yeah, I remember when that thing was an aura and we used to see double AP comps.
God, I remember
which
that.
This is also a double AP comp, but it's not.
Feels more
it's
like,
not a buff,
a quad AP comp when you look at it.
Yeah.
Which actually Origen have had a fair amount of success with when they stack a lot of AP, but last game didn't really go so well for them when they had full AP top laner. This time Morgana lends herself a little bit more utility perhaps than the Gragas did in the last game, but it's Reason that are pushing a turret here in the middle lane.